Okay, so today what we're going to cover is the 3 woes and 3 trumps, and what that means, and how that affects how you chronologically place the order of chapters of Revelation in the proper order, so you can understand God's message and what He's trying to tell us here. So what I've done is I've basically just taken the King James Version of the Bible and I've copied it into 22 books or 22 pages. And the things that you need to understand is I've only added a couple small indicators where certain things are. I haven't really tried to change this book or these chapters at all so that you can understand. I'm not trying to modify them in any way. I'm just trying to show you where these things are. If you look at anything that I've been talking about on my Facebook, which is at End of Days Survival, you'll notice that I break up Revelation in this order: chapter 1 through 10, 15 and 16, and 20 through 22. The reason we do this is, and I think you'll see this, is 1 through 10, chapters 1 through 10, go from John's beginning of his vision all the way to the point where they're just about ready to sound the 7th trumpet, but they don't. And God will tell us why that is going to happen. 15 and 16 are directly and exclusively about the 7 bowls or vials that he drops down during God's wrath after Jesus comes back on the 7th trumpet. And when you go to chapter 20, 21, and 22, that talks about just after Antichrist and false prophet are thrown in the lake of fire, we see the binding of Satan and New Jerusalem and all of the rewards and God's bride. So that's sort of how this all works. I'm going to go through a lot of these chapters fairly quickly because we don't want to go over things that don't matter to this teaching. And the only thing I'm trying to get at today are what the 3 woes and the 3 trumps are and how to read Revelation chronological. I am not going to put chapter 11 through 14 in this one, or 17, 18, and 19 because they're a reinforcement or reiteration of basically chapter 8 through 16, and I'll explain that in this other video. Actually, there'll be 3 videos altogether. This is first of 3. So what do we see? We see the revelation of Jesus Christ given to John on what to show us. John's supposed to write to the 7 churches. That's pretty explanatory. We're not going to go too deep into that. He writes to 7 churches, so chapter 2 and 3 are all about those letters and the discretions or inequities of the 7 churches in Turkey that John's writing to. On chapter 4, we see the door open in heaven, and John is taken up. John exclusively alone is taken up, not the church. It doesn't say anything about the church being taken up. John is being taken up so that he can see Jesus and what's going on in heaven, so he can be explained what is to happen to us in latter days, not what the church is going to see. Church is going to be on the ground until the 7th trumpet. At least that's my understanding when our Lord comes back. So I am not a pre-trib guy. Anything I've ever talked about is not pre-trib, and I don't believe that. That's probably the biggest lie on the planet, is that we won't be placed through a trial until at least the point of wrath of God, which are the 7 bowls. But that's not what this is about either. We're going to talk about 3 woes and 3 trumps. So John is taken up to heaven. The Lamb or Jesus is selected to break the 7 seals in chapter 5. The Lamb or Jesus starts to break the seals. Now notice, the white horseman comes out on the first one. I've said for a while this is Gog. Gog is from Turkey, and that he will be the first seal or white horseman that comes out on the first seal. That at this point, and I'm not saying is Erdogan, but he is the candidate. He is the prime minister. Well, he's the president of Turkey. He's not the prime minister. He's president or the leader of Turkey. I believe that he is Gog at this point. He went down in Syria on January 21st and broke the first seal. That's my understanding. We'll see what happens as this plays out next year. But that's, as we see, the white horseman has a bow and a crown, and he goes forth and conquers. Okay, well, this is the same thing as Ezekiel 38 and 39. And in 38, you see twice, in 38:8 and 38:16, that this is all about latter days or end days. And if you see in verse 19, there's a huge earthquake event that runs all the way down to verse 23 in Ezekiel 38. That's the sixth seal happening there. And if you look at Ezekiel 39, the bow that's getting smited out with the arrows out of his hands is basically Gog dying on the sixth seal, which we see down here, because he's going to break all of these other seals, and then we're going to have this major earthquake event. This is the same thing as Ezekiel 38. And he even tells you in Ezekiel 39 at the very beginning who this is. He's the white horseman. So, again, this is another discussion, but that's where I'm with this one. The only thing that I would say on this chapter is I don't like to say that this is Antichrist, because Gog is a man. He is at this point the president of Turkey. He will collect the 10 nations and then die on this sixth seal. So this is a man up here, it's a white horseman, and he's brought back through a supernatural event. After dying on the sixth seal, he'll be brought back as Antichrist on the sixth trumpet. And it's amazing that the sixth trumpet to the seventh trumpet is the whole time between Antichrist comes back and the seventh trumpet blows, and we see Jesus come back. So between the sixth and seventh trumpet, there's a lot going on. So just keep that in mind. So the Lamb opens the seals, go to the sixth seal, earthquake event happens. On the seventh seal, let me go back one here, make sure I'm in the right place. That's right, yep, the sixth seal. Then on chapter 7, we see the four angels holding back the four winds. You're going to hear this again real soon. Not to hurt the earth until the servants of God have been sealed. 144,000 are sealed. And so what do we have? We have basically the seventh seal happening. He's going to have the half an hour of silence. And at that point, and this is what I mean, they do not overlap. He then gives 7 angels 7 trumps. This is still in chronological order from chapter 1. We're in chapter 8 now. 7 angels sound the 7 trumpets. This is going to be a fairly quick procession between 1 and 5, because what's going to happen is you're going to see the green grass burn up, you're going to see the sea burn up, you're going to see the angels throw the stars from heaven, and you're going to see wormwood happen, and you're going to see the sun and the moon and all these things happen. And this is fairly quickly, if not all about the same time or in procession. And then what does he say at the end of the 4th trumpet? Watch for 3 woes. This is important. This is probably the most important statement he makes in the book, so you understand how to read it properly. The 3 woes, or the 3 last trumpets, 5, 6, and 7. And he tells us they have yet to sound. There's a reason for this, because he's not going to sound the 7th trumpet on chapter 10 at the end of it. He's going to sound the other 2, 5 and 6, but not 7. That will happen actually in chapter 15. So the voices of the trumpets of the angels are going to sound. So we're in chapter 8, we go to chapter 9. He sounds the first trumpet, the bottomless pit opens up. That's the one that Michael is standing on, because on the sixth trumpet, he's going to bring Antichrist back down. But he hasn't done that yet. We just opened the pit. And we see the scorpions come out for 5 months. One woe is past. Behold, there's 2 more to come. The sixth angel sounds. The bottomless pit is already opened. And what do we see on this one? And we'll see this in a minute. The 2 beasts of the sea and the earth come up, because Satan is being thrown out at the same time by Michael and the angels from heaven. And they resurrect Antichrist from a dead Gog and impregnate the false prophet, which I believe is the Pope, but we'll see if that happens or not. And he'll convert the churches, which will leave the churches in a real mess, because they won't know what to do, because this is an Islamic Allah Antichrist. Another important thing to watch are prepare for the hour, day, month, and a year. These 1260 days or 42 months are reoccurring constantly in chapter 11 through 14. So that's a really important thing to watch. That's why I colored them in different colors, because you want to be able to watch the 42 months along with the 3 woes and the last 3 trumpets. So watch those things, the 1260 days, 42 months, 5, 6, and 7 trumpet, which are the last 3 woes, or the 3 woes. So we see that he's blown the 6th trumpet. And then we move into chapter 10. Now this is still chronological up to 10. I say that the mighty angel is Michael. That's the Michael is me. I'm trying to prove that case with some of the people I talk to. But I believe that is the case, because he will be the one standing on the sea and the earth when the Antichrist and false prophet come up on the 6th trumpet. And he has a book, and there's a number of things going on there. We'll go over that in a minute. But see, he's got the little book open. Now, whether some people say this is Jesus, I don't believe that's the case. I believe this is an angel of Jesus. It tells us in chapter 1, if you go back, that he sends him an angel to give John this vision. Angel. It's not Jesus. I believe that it's Michael, because Michael is the keeper of Satan. He's the one that binds him. He's the one that does everything. Michael is the archangel. He's his mightiest warrior. He's the one. Now, it tells us when the 7 thunders utter their voices. So he's talking about the trumps. That all these things are going to occur that are coming up. But now we're into, like I said, the 6th trumpet or 2nd woe right now. But what is going to happen is he's not going to sound that last trumpet. It tells us. He says, in the days, the voice of the 7th angel, when it shall begin to sound, the mystery of God will be finished. But it is not now. It's in the days, or in a little while, a little bit later. And John is then told to take the book from the mighty angel and eat it up, and he will prophesy again to, excuse me, to the people, the nations, the tongues, and the kings. So everybody, you're not raptured yet, people, and you're a long way into tribulation at this point. So what happens? We're supposed to watch for the 7 angels that begin to sound, and this will then place down the bowls of wrath. Well, this doesn't happen until chapter 15. What do we see? The 7 angels having this last 7 plagues of the 7 bowls or the wrath of God. He doesn't have to tell you he's going to sound the trumpet. It's happening right here in front of you. So the 7 angels now have the 7 bowls. And what do we see? Because the 7 bowls are now in play, Jesus brings up all of his people that have not had the mark of the beast, gives them a harp, they sing the song of Moses and the Lamb, and the tabernacle is open, but no one can enter it yet until the 7 bowls have finished. So we're going to see the 7 bowls, and like I said earlier, 15 and 16 chapters are all about the bowls. So what do we see? He hasn't opened up the tabernacle yet. It's still closed to everybody because he still hasn't pulled the bowls down. But in chapter 16, he starts pouring the bowls. He pours all 6 of them down, or all 7 of them down. Now, I'm not going to go into this because you can read all this stuff. You need to come out here and study this stuff. So 7 bowls are being poured down. And what does he do then? He warns you about Great Babylon. Because what is 17, 18, and 19 all about? The destruction of Great Babylon. And it reiterates all of this up to the point where Babylon is destroyed and the 7th bowl is dropped down. And what happens then? We have another earthquake. This isn't the same as the 6th seal. This is another earthquake event completely because they're destroying Babylon and all that. And what happens after this is we see in chapter 20, you've just dropped the 7 bowls. So we know that Antichrist and false prophet have been thrown in the lake of fire. And what then occurs? Satan is bound on the very beginning of 20. So this is pretty easy to see the progression. And he's going to bind him for 1,000 years. He's going to cast him in the bottom of a pit, and he's going to loose him for a short period, which is the second Gog-Magog war, because the first Gog-Magog war happens at the beginning of the 1st seal and ends on the 6th seal when God destroys him on the Temple Mount as he goes against Israel and his people and tries to capture the seed of God. But this will kill him, and then he'll be brought back on the 6th trumpet. So, it tells us at this point, both Antichrist and false prophet are in the lake of fire, and the devil or Satan will then also be cast into the lake of fire and be tormented forever. We're going to have the second death. We have the first resurrection up here with the living, so that's when everybody gets judged. And whoever's not found in the book of life is cast into the fire. Actually, hell and Hades is cast in over time. And what's this about? God's bride, his new description of heaven. The first earth has passed away. All the destruction's gone. Antichrist and false prophet are dead. Satan is bound. And we have the new Jerusalem come onto the ground. And this is God's bride. And what we're going to see is that John then is told to come back up, and we're going to come over here and we're going to show you God's bride. And so chapter 21 and 22 are exclusively about God's bride. And so at the very end, he tells you, not the church, not the Jews, not anybody specifically, but you. He tells you that you need to do these things or you're going to lose your crowns or rewards. So this book, this last book, is for you. It's not for anyone else but you. Everyone. So just keep that in mind. You will be here until the 7th trumpet, but if you read Revelation properly, you'll understand a couple things. It's chronological with reinforcing chapters. Chronological order is 1 through 10, 15, 16, 20 through 22, with reinforcing chapters of 11 through 14 and 17 through 19 that reinforce chapter 8 through 16. And I'm going to explain that in my next 2 videos One will be about chapter 11 through 14 and how they affect chapter 8 through 16. And the other one will be, and those are reiteration of everything that John is going to see through basically the 7 bowls, because it's going to end on the 16th chapter, which is the 7th bowl. And so if you go into that, we'll get into that later though. So chronological order is 1 through 10, 15, 16, which are the 2 chapters with the 7 bowls. That reiterates all that. So we're going to see that happen in the last 3 chapters, or Satan is being bound, and then you're going to see the new bride. So that's how you read Revelations. You have to look at a couple indicators, the 1260 days, which are going to reoccur in chapter 11 through 14, almost exclusively through each and every one of those chapters, and that chapter 17 through 19 is just about the destruction of Babylon. So chronological order of reading Revelation is 1 through 10, 15, 16, 20 through 22. And God bless you. Thank you for watching.